next day before you got an answer. Well, in the meantime, I put the class on hold. I'm not used to that kind of teaching, and it slowed me down terribly. It was very frustrating. So
we can pause in the middle of our education. We can pause in the middle of our movies and shows to go to the bathroom, get popcorn, or whatever.
You're right.
Hello. World out there. I'm with John Ramsay, 90 years old, who grew up in the Depression, and definitely a witty gentleman to always converse with. John, thanks for being on the show today. How are you feeling, sir?
I'm feeling good today.
You look good today.
So happy to be on Zoom with you. Zoom is wonderful.
We're not only on Zoom right now, we're broadcasting to YouTube live as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so we'll have
on YouTube.
This will be instantly documented with our modern technology, so that whoever else is watching us right now can see us, and if they can't see us right now, they can see us later.
Modern technology is unbelievable, and I'm so envious of the people who are growing up in this age.
Yeah, we were talking a little before we started sharing on YouTube that about freedom, and all the things that are happening in the world with young people, kind of finding their way in the world, and I wanted your perspective even deeper on that.
Okay, well, my life was turned around when I was 41 years old, I think. I had my first experience outside of the United States. I went to Denmark. I went over to take a dance course, and I was the director of a school that was patterned after the Danish folk schools. So, I had my first experience outside the United States. Now, I'm an American, and I was raised believing in, and I still do, that that America is the land of the free.
Yeah.
Talk about freedom, and we have our Bill of Rights, and I must be able to say what I want and read what I want and worship as I want, congregate as I want, so on. Americans are pretty self-centered, and I got to Denmark, and it's a different world over there. And,
how so?
Well, they act differently. I was in a class, and of course, I didn't speak Danish.
Sure.
I could understand a little bit of what was going on in the class, but I turned to the student next to me to whisper a question, what did this mean, or something like that. He or she would not respond to me. There was great control, and it wasn't coming from the professor. I found out that it's the students who ran the show there, and they wanted one person to speak at a time, and they wanted to listen to what the professor had to say, and there would be a time to have discussion. You had coffee there often. That's where you had your freewheeling talk. But no, there was a lot of regimentation, but it came from the people. And so I attended this seminar and learned that freedom, according to the Danes, is not a matter of individual rights. It's a condition of society. You only have freedom if everybody agrees to that and works toward that. And if you listen to other people when they're speaking, and you don't interrupt when somebody else is speaking. So they have a whole different attitude towards life. That changed. I wanted to import that to the United States.
How do you see that folding out today with everything going on with our different political parties and agendas and things like that? How do you see that playing out here?
Well, that certainly is changing things, and all these algorithms, which are, I understand, contributing to the polarization, which divides us. And that's not a condition of society, that you want to get opposite poles. If you're going to have a workable society, they have to work together, cooperate. That was the word. I went to Denmark being told, that it was a socialist country. And
Right.
I found out it's not socialist, it's cooperative.
Hmm.
The uh, the regulation, like that student, it comes from the people. So when I went to meetings there, why the people were in control. It wasn't the parliamentarian or the president,
Right.
the people. And of course, Denmark was a satellite of Germany for many years, and to be a Dane was to be a hillbilly or a hick. If you were educated, you spoke German, and the Germans had the arts and the literature and everything else. The Germans were it. Well, Denmark had a war with Germany. They lost a lot of land, but they also gained something within, which was an understanding that we are cooperative. We have to work together, and because of that, now they are considered one of the top countries in the world when it comes to all sorts of, whether it's crime or standard of living or healthcare, whatever. They and the other Scandinavian countries are at the top of the list.
Well, I guess I think about freedom as Americans, and we do have our freedom, and in some ways, when does our freedom impose on other people's? We can talk about masks and all these other things, or my right to choose this, that, or the other, and certainly, there has to be some. I like what you said about communication and really listening to what the other person has to say before interrupting with her own thoughts and opinion. Say more to that. How is there any way we could implement that in today's society here in America?
Yeah, but I think it requires an aha moment where you understand what it means to be a part of society instead of an independent individual. And we have a president who has no concept of that at all. So it's that this virus is sort of teaching us a lesson. We do have to wear masks and have social distancing because of this virus. We have to be concerned about each other, or nobody is immune to it.
Correct.
And if it keeps going up and up and up, it's going to reach all of us.
I was sharing with Jaleesa earlier that we're going back to school in August, right? We have 4 kids, and not Jaleesa and I, my wife and I, but we have 4 kids, and we were all expecting to go back on the 50% 2 days a week type of learning plan.
Yeah.
So the classes would be about half the size or less, and they just announced this morning. We got a text with a video message from the school superintendent that basically they had to scrap that whole plan, and now it's 100% e-learning, whereas about a third of the students or the families had chose to do 100% e-learning for the whole semester. Now those 2/3 that were expecting to go back into the fall, my wife and myself included, now we have to kind of change our game plan again, which was a little bit expected. And I was describing it to other people. It's like, well, I guess we get to hang out at home more, like it would be a snow day, except it's an extended snow day. So it's definitely changing things. This virus,
and that's a great opportunity, really. It's shaking everything up, which I think that's built into the whole pattern of cycle of life, shaking things up from sexual reproduction right on. The chromosomes separate, and then there's random assortment, the chaos. And then you don't know what 2 are going to come together to form a new individual, which will be different than anybody. We're at this chaos right now because of this virus.
Yeah.
And I don't know what sort of. Well, certainly we'll come up with the vaccine. In fact, I have now. SLU is participating in the testing, our doctor just told us that my wife and I might want to consider that.
SLU, St. Louis University, for those that are seeing this elsewhere.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I will be looking that up when this session is over to see whether we qualify or not. I certainly would be happy to participate. There's, half a chance that you would get nothing. Well, that's not changing anything because I have nothing now.
Right.
If they had an effective vaccine, well, that would be a plus. So it's only a plus, maybe a half plus, but anyway, I would do it, and it may, well, it is necessary. Somebody has to do this in order to test the stuff out. So why not me? That's part of my
why not you?
Social responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for those of us just joining us now, if you're seeing this live or if recording, I'm with the one, the only, the fabulous John Ramsay, Ramsay. You saw it in the title.
Thank you.
But what a colorful life you've lived. So not only is there years in your life, but there's life in your years. And I know you've had just such a colorful career of all. I mean, you just talked about going to Denmark, and I know you were in agriculture and scientific studies and programming and things like that for how long did you do agriculture on a scientific level?
Well, I studied agriculture in college, and then I tried to become an agricultural missionary, but Uncle Sam.
Now, what is an agricultural missionary?
Well,
I have an idea.
I would go to Africa and help people produce milk to feed people.
Yes.
I was into dairying. I thought dairying was the perfect food, and it was more efficient production than producing beef. I thought milk was a good place to go. So I did that for about 9 or 10 years. And then I went back to school because I needed to learn some more about dairying. I had a lot of questions about how you produce milk more efficiently and cows that last longer and have, I don't know, mostly I was interested in longevity of the animals because you invest 2 years in an animal's life before you get anything out of it and in milk production. And you'd like then that animal to live for 20 years.
Ideally.
Sometimes they do. So is that genetic or is it nutritional or what is it, So
if you want the cows to last that long, you went back to school. How long did you stay focused on that?
I got my PhD in animal breeding.
Animal breeding.
I got a PhD. I wanted to, and just philosophically, I wanted to follow some one aspect of life because I had lots of questions. Follow one thing to the edge of what we know.
Yeah.
So that was worth doing. I found out that we didn't know as much as I thought we did, and that you end up with more questions than you have answers, and then that the textbooks take your answers, which are all tentative and make lots of assumptions. They take those and put them out as the gospel truth, the latest truth, and so we're misusing the scientific method. So that also was another turning point in my life, the way I look at the world.
Which is a perfect time to plug one of your many books, but Questions Become Answers.
Yes, Questions Become Answers. That's the title of my book. It's on Amazon. In fact, you can go and get.
It's a place to go. It's also on your website, right? They can get it if they order there.
Questions under books, and then take a look at my authors page. They have an authors page now, and they list all.
Oh, good. That last time we were talking, that I heard about that, they didn't have your authors page.
Well, they have it now, and they even have. I have several different books. One of dog tales collected from the Appalachian area. They're fun story, 57 dog stories. I have a podcast. It's free. Look up
What's
podcast Dog Tales, and that's
plug your podcast?
Dog Tales.
I'll put it in the show notes. Cast.
It's on 9 different platforms, and I tell it an audio book of each tale, and I tell them in dialect as best I can. So anyway, there was a German edition of the Dog Tales book, so I got that up on Amazon too. So
excellent.
These books that I published, some of them are fun, but Answers Become Questions. That's a serious one. That tells you what I'd like to let people know that I've learned. Of course, other people.
And in the spirit of education, and I certainly want my kids to learn. I want to learn in the proper way, and sometimes it feels like we're just learning to get the right answer to pass the exam, to pass the test. But I really like this idea that you've fostered of constant learning. Not just to pass for today, but to actually do a deep dive and foster learning and wisdom and
right. And
your own thinking.
The Danish folk schools, they understand that teachers are learning from students as well as students learning from teachers. It's a collaborative affair. The cooperation goes into the classroom, so they don't give any exams.
I think I might have should have would have liked that Denmark for school. For certain. So again, if you're joining us, one of the things I love about your lunch hour, this whole show, is really to stimulate thinking, right? People may be enjoying their lunch any time of day around the world. It doesn't matter. But the whole point of me doing this show is to inspire people's thinking and how they can focus on their own life and leverage their life a little bit better.
Sean, yay. You're a folk school man.
I had no idea.
No,
I thought it was a capitalist at heart, man. I didn't know that.
Well, life is very complex. Yeah, we are.
Sure is.
That's part of my belief system, that life is very complex. We like to pin things down. Being human beings, we want to pin things down. We want to define our words. We want to have our dictionaries and all of that stuff. And well, tell me exactly what you mean and what's the answer to this? What is the capital T truth?
Right.
All these things. That's because we're human beings.
Right.
Because we are finite beings, we have to pin things down. If it's eternal or something like that, we can't put our arms around that.
Yeah.
So we try to categorize everything, put it in boxes and so on, have our systems. That's because we're human beings. So capitalism, sure, and all these other things too, we're experimenting and trying to find out what works and what doesn't work. But
I know I think, what did they say? America, the great experiment.
We won't come up with finite answers.
Right. Just more questions.
If you believe that, the people I'm scared of are the people who are so dogmatic and have their minds made up, because that's deadly.
It is, for anything, for any position. I was listening to another broadcast, and they were not necessarily criticizing, but more, I don't even say complaining, but they were talking to, someone in their early 20s, and, they were graduated from college and they were protesting this, but living at home with their parents. And, they just didn't have a good sense of, from the elders' perspective. The youth or the younger person was saying, it's like, well, here's the way it goes, and here's what's right. And they're like, well, that's not necessarily 100% true. I mean, you still gotta, kind of like you said, you were talking about growing it through a teenager, and it's a stepping stone into adulthood. And what does adulthood look like? And I think there's a lot of people out there just haven't got out of their teenage phase. Sometimes I notice that in myself.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, Yeah, it's different being a grown up, being in charge of yourself.
Yeah.
You are in charge of yourself. It doesn't matter what's going on around you in the world. You respond. You decide how you're going to respond.
Yeah.
That's an important thing to know, and that's what makes you an adult.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about the why behind whatever we do. We were talking about a friend of mine who's was considering continuing their education, and you said you had said you just took a class not what just a few months ago.
Yeah, Saturday. I finished it on Saturday.
And why? Because you wanted to, or was there something like inherently there?
I wanted to experience online learning, but I
Hmm.
also wanted to learn how to use InDesign because I'm a book publisher,
Yeah.
and InDesign is the best program for that. However, it is very complex and difficult to use it. It will do almost anything. So you decide what you want to do, but then you have to know where to look for it.
Sure.
They can't hit, it's so complex you can't find what you're looking for.
Hmm.
So I learned some stuff during the class, but I don't recommend it unless, unless you are going to be using it every day for the
Yeah.
next however many years InDesign is going to last. There'll soon be something else taking its place, but you need to use it every day because I I learned some stuff during the class in this 1 month. You know, I learned this and this and this and this, but I forgot this and this and this and this. And unless you use it every day, at least at my age, I just can't keep it all in my head, and so I'm having to relearn it and fumbling around. It's pretty tough. So young people, you know, it's like language. When should you learn your language? When you're young. Your
Yeah.
mind is absorbing all this stuff. And here you are growing up in the computer age, and I envy you. I find it difficult to operate in. You know, we get on Medici Media Space on Monday mornings on Zoom.
Right.
While we're talking, Sean is there typing away on his computer. We don't know it. He's looking at us and smiling at us, and he's typing away and getting answers from his computer, and we don't see that. And Josh is doing the same thing. It's I I'm afraid that if I start putting my attention to my computer screen, that I just can't be doing that and pay attention to the group at the same time.
It's a
But
new form of communication, right?
yeah, yeah, it is. It is, and this is the communication of the new generation.
Yeah.
So I'm so
Well,
glad to see them out on the streets.
oh yeah.
I want them to wear masks and social distance, but I'm glad they're out on the streets saying, you know, hey, we're here. Listen to us. We see the world a little bit differently.
Yeah, we sure do.
We want everybody included. I'm all for that. Yeah. I'm not out there marching with them anymore. I can't. I used to when I was in the 60s, but now
Nearly 30 years ago.
I've got a vertigo and I
Yeah.
can't do any of that.
So I know people are amazed just by uh, your wit, your intellect, and your constant drive. You're 90 years old. I know you just had your 90th birthday not too long ago, and you have kids. I met one of your sons, and grandkids, and even great grandkids.
I do. I have 15 great grandchildren,
That's awesome.
and 2 of them are in Denmark.
Oh wow! See, there you go. You really liked that Denmark, didn't you?
Well, I gained a daughter-in-law out of my relations with Denmark.
Oh wow! See, there are no accidents.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's incredible. So, with all 15 great grandchildren, 15 great grandchildren, what is it that I know you? I've even seen like a birthday video where they
Yeah,
were sending you, it's like, hey, say hi to great granddad.
that's right.
What is something that you want to pass along, not to us to them, but I would think it'd be a good insight for all children growing up in the world. I can say youth, but I'm youth to you too.
Well, to be inquisitive, to be curious, to explore things, test them out. But of course, you got to have your heart in the right place. You got to care about other people, not just yourself. You are a member of society. We are human beings do not live alone. So yes, share, learn from others, people who are different from you.
Yes.
It can teach you something that you don't know because they're different. So that's all so important. How do you pass that sort of stuff on? The way I think it is person to person.
Yeah.
It's not something you can put in a textbook. Well, you can try to, but I think the most effective way is person to person. Of course, that starts with parent to child or mentor to child, and then child to child, and it starts growing and getting more complex, and people figure out their own way of what their contribution is going to be. But if you realize that you are a part of society, that's probably, to me, the most important thing to do.
How profound. John Ramsay, thank you as always for stimulating conversation. I love
Thank you, Sean, for being who you are. And Ulissa, I was expecting to hear more from Ulissa. What I want to know what her interests are, where she is.
Jaleesa, you got
Hey,
your ears
guys.
on?
I am. I'm here. I've been running around multitasking a lot.
That's what her job is as a media coordinator.
Yeah.
Just coordinate a bunch of different media at once. But you asked what are my interests?
Yes.
Is that okay? Awesome. So I was telling Sean about this too earlier. I'm interested in film and acting and production side. I think at the heart I'm an entrepreneur, so I always am looking for like cool, innovative ways to create. But yeah, like right now I do a lot of modeling and I'm getting more into acting, and pretty soon I'll be moving to Atlanta soon to continue my aspirations there.
So if we know of any romantic comedy writers out there, Jaleesa Powell is definitely looking to read some scripts.
Okay. Well, that's and you're in for a roller coaster, Ulissa, because I don't know what's going to happen to the theater.
I know, right? It's crazy. Everything might be all video, which is okay with me too, but I don't know how productions and sets are going to work.
Yes, it might be. So that's the whole business of movies and theater is changing
Drastically. Yeah. There's an entertainment like agency, like a real big one, CAA, and they recently furloughed about 230 of their agents.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we have made a commercial society. I think if anybody wanted to characterize our society, it would be commercial.
True. Very true.
Everything. And so in this commercial society, you do have to make a living somehow.
Yeah.
So, a roller coaster, that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what happens.
It's hard enough to figure it out.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm like, okay, let's see where this is going. I feel like it's either going to go someplace really cool or it's just going to change everything forever, the way we intake media.
Yeah. So
it sure is. It's amazing we have the tools at our disposal that we do, so we can, even communicate the way we are right now. Can you imagine this just on a phone call?
I had a survey, an international survey, wanted to know how older people are dealing with loneliness during this pandemic. And I think that I probably threw a curve at their statistics because I am less lonely now than I was before.
Wow.
With Zoom, we have Zoom on Monday with Medici.
Right.
On Tuesday and Thursday, I Zoom with some buddies of mine. One of them lives in Colorado. On Saturday, I Zoom with my son in Kentucky and my son in Denmark. On Sunday, we have our church is by Zoom, and you get to see all these individuals, and it becomes even more personal than when we were there in person.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a different world. A lot.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
So true. And I'm glad we're able to do it.
Well, thank you for doing this, Sean. And
Absolutely.
what's the name? This is on YouTube.
This is on YouTube.
How can I find it on YouTube?
Well, we'll make sure we'll send you the link, but it's always going to be, I know Jaleesa always posts it to my media hub, where that'll kind of live forever, but it'll also be on YouTube.
Okay, and so what do I look for on YouTube?
Well, we'll forward it to you, but the Leverage Your Lunch Hour, and if you punch in your name, John Ramsay spelled the correct way.
That's what
Leverage Your Lunch Hour, and then but your name will be in it, and your age will be in it, so you can't fool anybody anymore.
Oh, I didn't mean to look at mine. I meant for how often do you do it? Every Wednesday?
I do the show every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, and I try to have as many guests as I can, and sometimes it's just me. So, and Jaleesa.
Yeah, and so
yes.
all the people that are listening now, they know how to plug into this.
That's right. So subscribe early and often, and share. But
okay.
The biggest thing is, even if you don't, if you hear this, the big message and the big takeaway is leverage your lunch hour with thinking. And think for yourself, keep learning, be inquisitive, like John said. And as I always end every one of these shows, we may not see you in person, but we'll see you right here on social media. Thanks for watching, everybody. John, you stay on, and we'll keep smiling.
I'll try to stay out of mischief.
All right. We love it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you the next round.